We begin the 6 o'clock here with breaking news that we continue to follow here. A New York grand jury has voted to indict former President Donald Trump.
His lawyer confirming it is related to a payment to an adult film star right before the 2016 election. We don't know yet what the actual charges are because the indictment is still under seal. Trump will be the first president to face criminal charges. This is unprecedented. Trump recently released a statement calling the charges, quote, blatant election interference, unquote. He is expected to present himself to law enforcement sometime next week.
We want to show you some live pictures that are coming in right now. This is a look at the New York District Attorney's Office, where police officers there have already started guarding the front door for a look at anything that could happen, potentially happen here this evening and in the coming days. Joining us now in studio is WGN political analyst Paul Lisnek. Hello to you.
Good
you
to see
made it
you.
here quickly.
Yeah. Cubs traffic.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it was very tough. I mean, we learned earlier, before we knew about the indictment, that the NYPD was already getting security ready. So something was going on. We did not know it would happen that quickly after.
Okay, walk us through what happens here Friday and in the coming week. Does he turn himself in? Kind of what goes on?
So we know that his lawyers now know. There's a period of time they didn't. They now know. The charges are sealed, so we will not know, and we will not know what he's being charged with until the actual hearing or the arraignment. When will that be? That's all being worked out. My guess is next week, because there's secret security. Secret security. You've got all these things going on. This is not anything where let's just do it tomorrow morning, although they've been preparing for it. My understanding is his team knew it was coming, but everybody seemed to be caught off guard in terms of the timing right now. So he'll be brought in, but I got to tell you, the notion that he's going to be brought in cuffs, not going to happen. That there's going to be this, what they call the perp walk, that he's going to be fingerprinted. They don't use ink anymore. It's all done electronically.
Or a mugshot.
There will be a mugshot,
Okay.
but it is not guaranteed, certainly in New York, that it will be released publicly. So everybody who'll be waiting for that probably shouldn't wait, because my guess is they won't release it. So they're going to keep this as quiet, as normal as they possibly can without trying to stir up people.
So he gets charged. He goes through that whole process. When is the first time he appears before a judge?
Well, so that will be at that hearing. So all that happens, it's all kind of at the same time. There'll be the hearing, and at that time, the charges will be unsealed. His lawyers know what those charges are now, so he will be prepared to I'm sure, plead not guilty. We're already getting statements from him, as you've been indicating, that it's all political. This truly, I'll tell you what, I wear a political hat and a legal hat here. Never have these two merged like they're about to merge for the coming weeks and months at this
So at this point, the negotiation is also being undertaken right now by his security team to figure out how they're going to get him in and out of that courtroom, right? And who's going to be in the courtroom at that time?
Well, exactly right. And, you know, this notion that he's going to walk up the front door. I mean, if you think about the typical thing where the media is waiting outside and they're entering the courtroom, none of that is going to happen. He might want it to, and he might even claim that he wanted to. The bottom line is Secret Service is not going to allow it. He's going to go through some underground entrance, brought up privately. Everything is going to be secure. That's the way this thing has to happen, and that will be on orders of Secret Service, who will be present with him in that courtroom.
All right, so want to get to that statement first, though, right, producer Allison?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, Donald Trump has just released a lengthy statement after his indictment in New York, and it reads in part, quote, "This is political persecution and election interference at the highest level in history. The Democrats have lied, cheated, and stolen in their obsession with trying to get Trump, but now they've done the unthinkable, indicting a completely innocent person in an act of blatant election interference," unquote.
So can we just clarify?
Sure.
This is not election interference. I mean, I understand the former president will put it out there this way. This is the New York District Attorney doing what they're doing with regard to the law and the facts as they see it. This blending of you know, it's about interfering with the election. There's just no basis for it. I understand why Trump says it, but from a legal perspective, there's just no connection to it. This is a separate proceeding, though it will get merged. There was also recently, I saw a statement from Mike Pompeo in which the first words in the statement were, George Soros funded district attorney. So there will be lots of comments. It'll be fascinating to see what Kevin McCarthy says later. None of them have spoken yet, or even DeSantis, how they're going to deal with this. But right now, they're making it look as though the Democrats are after him. Again, I understand why Trump supporters and Trump will take that approach, but a legal process is just not the political process, even if there is some influence in terms of the mindset of a Democratic DA, but they're too smart to approach things that way.
All right, hold that thought. Let's talk more about the legal process here. Joining us now to talk about more about this is criminal defense lawyer Gal Pazetsky. Gal, Good evening. We welcome you in. Your initial thoughts on this subject matter.
Well, we were all waiting for that subject matter to come for the last couple of weeks, ever since Trump said that he is going to get indicted, and we knew that there was has been a grand jury investigation that we're looking into that. The big question is, what did they indict him for? We know it is a felony because it's an indictment, and only a felony can be indicted, not a misdemeanor. So we know that. We also are assuming that it is for the falsifying of business records, probably in the first degree. So there's going to be some hurdles that the prosecutor had to go through and pass in front of a grand jury when they presented the evidence for the grand jurors to find probable cause to indict him.
Okay, you talked about the grand jury. Patrick and I were discussing this a little bit ago. You know, what the grand jury may have seen that may lead them to, or led them to, this decision today. Obviously, Michael Cohen alone can't be the only thing that they took into account. So walk us through some of the other things that they might have in their hands.
Generally, what happens with a grand jury like that is that the government or the state would bring in their main investigator to testify in front of the grand jury. And through that main investigator, that investigator will provide to the grand jurors the overall idea of what it is that the prosecutor is trying to get, what charges they want to file, and then also introduce the record. So we know that there are records of checks, for example, in this case, that have Donald Trump's signature on it. They will bring in, for example, Mr. Cohen to testify. They possibly would bring in some other witnesses to testify about the actual crime or the underlying facts of the crime. And the grand jurors might ask questions, and they might ask questions of the witnesses, and they might ask to see certain evidence from the from the prosecutor.
Hey, Galt, do you think they may have heard from Stormy Daniels herself?
It is very possible that they have, although I'm not sure if it is. I mean, it's relevant to the case because the hush money was to pay the hush money to her, but I'm not sure if they called her to testify or it was done through the lead investigator that testified as to what has happened.
But, Gal, let me ask you, you know, it's always said that we can get an indictment and a ham sandwich, right? We all know that phrase because, of course, the jurors are not hearing from defense lawyers. They're only hearing from the prosecutors, so they only really get one side of this. But, you know, you've heard me address kind of the politics of it, the former president making it political. You're a legal expert. I'm not turning you into a political one. But my sense is it a fair enough statement to say that the grand jury in this case, their decision is not based on politics. This is not a they hate Trump, never Trump, or anything like that. Does that come into play here?
It's not political at all. The grand jurors, you don't know who they are, but some of them could be Trump supporters. You just don't know. But they have to follow the law to find whether or not there's probable cause. So it is not political whatsoever. And in fact, I think because it's state charges, Donald Trump can continue to run and possibly be a president again in 2024.
By the way, you just mentioned probable cause. I think it's important our viewers understand. The standard for the grand jury is not beyond a reasonable doubt. That's going to come later.
Correct. Probable cause is to determine whether a crime may have been committed maybe by this person.
Okay, stay here with us, Gal. I want to ask Paul Lisnek a quick question because we've been talking about the political side of all of this. We've already seen that former President Trump has made some statements about this indictment. How do his opponents, I mean, we're going into a presidential election, Trump may be running. How do his opponents sort of use this indictment and what may go on here in the coming weeks as something against him?
I mentioned that Mike Pompeo was the only one who appears to have issued a statement. I say appears to because it was tied to a fundraising effort, so I'm not exactly sure what that was. But the point is, he's the first of a potential opponent who comes in. Look, every one of the potential Republican candidates wants Trump's base. There isn't a one of them who wants to offend the former president. Right. They don't want to anger his supporters. Ron DeSantis is in the toughest situation right now because he's the one who's truly trying to appeal to them. Basically, what does he do? If everybody says this is a political witch hunt and all of that, which the president wants them to say, then is Ron DeSantis really distinguishing himself for those voters who want a bit of a break from Trump in all of this. That's why you're not hearing immediately from them right now. It's going to take some time. And as I say, even people like Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell, who's bought himself some time by being at home right now, working out of the House, but they all have this decision to make. Is they're all going to defend the president. They're all going to support him. But how far do they go? Because they're really playing with fire in terms of sending a message out.
I think less is more then, right? You just say, we'll see how this plays out, and we'll all be paying close attention in the days and the weeks.
I think that's right.
Ahead.
I think for the next day or so, we're going to be saying, we haven't heard from. Nikki Haley is in the race. What is it they're going to say? And I think they're strategizing right now about the best way to approach it. What we know is they don't want to offend Trump supporters, and they don't want to anger the former president.
They are. Or to be a fly on the wall in some of those rooms right now.
Right. It's true.
All right. Let's let you take a break here for
Sure.
a second because you got a little cough here.
Can
I
I
want
do
to
the
get you
weather?
some water. No. We're going to let somebody else do the weather. We do want to thank Gol for joining us this afternoon. We'll talk to you again throughout the evening, Gol. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Nice to
Al.
see you all.
All
See you,
right, stay
Gol.
with us.
Thank
Take care.